Alright, you guys, so we just took Ryker's blanket off of him and we are fixing to x-ray his knees and his stifles. He had been in race training up until right before he got here, and he's starting to kind of put on a belly, and he's losing a little bit of that racehorse muscle, but he's got good shine, and I think once we get all of this. Heather, she's wild. Jess. This is probably one of the sweetest horses we have. It's been a day. Look at Ryker, he's like, what? It's like the more that he gains weight, the more he loses his racehorse muscle. Sweet boy. Bear, you better go tuttle Jess. She's cold. Here, Jess, call Bear. He'll tuttle you. He said, Jess, I don't want to sleep on this. It's hard. Hey, He's had a lot of shots in his life, so if you need somebody else to hold him, that's not a problem. But racehorses have had a lot of shots, so they get to where they know you're fixing to give them a shot, and they snip.
I don't want kisses.
He said you do want kisses. Ryker, he was like, they were going to give me a shot, so I bit them. And I'm like, oh, Ryker.
Brandon beat the shit out of me with noodles earlier.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Not well. I thought I was like doing something big.
Where's Elizabeth and her brother?
I think they went to sleep.
Yeah, to go lay down. I knew that they still didn't feel good.
No, bear dog.
Isn't it crazy that we still have the amount of flies that we have? The flies, like, it's mid-December and we still have so many flies. The other day, I guess because Thor is black, I don't know if they were just attracted to him or what, but he was covered in flies when I went in the barn. I was like, what is this? I've seen white horses they really like. You need Jess to help you?
No, we're good.
The dog is just running.
His Skeet's like, yes.
I want to play.
Good call. Yeah.
Good.
Tiny little dog. Little dog. Charlie's looking at it weird.
Grayson, hold this.
Good.
Charlie.
Bear's like, I really do want to play. You should have been out here holding Ryker. He was biting. They were giving him a shot. He knew exactly what was going on, and he was like, I'm going to bite you, so you can't give me a shot. I'm gonna bite you hard. I'm like, hey, no. And he's like, ah. No. Poor Ryker and his little... Oh, no problem. I do too. I love him.
Actually, we're doing perfect right there. We're
Yeah.
doing the left side first. Turn the handle down. Down a little bit. Hit outside to me. There.
Just so everybody else can see. Can't see anything because of the glare. I was going to come grab. You want me to?
Got it?
Yep. Yeah.
Right, get him to switch around.
Back him up.
Maybe, yeah, one more. Right there.
Yeah. Perfection.
Straight back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then that other one.
Inside of you.
Up a little bit.
Okay.
I gotta take it around over here.
Yep. Alright. Well, now we've got Scott on his knees. We're like, get in the dirt, Scott. That old calcification. How
That's,
I see where it's...
looks like it's an old chip.
Yeah, and then when it was straightened, it has some calcification on it. It's not a, I mean, that's not scary to me.
It's old.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do?
We don't know yet. Just we wanted to debunk the fact that it was literally publicly posted that he was slab fractured, which that's nothing about either of these knees is slab fractured. That old chip, though, I mean, it's got a little bit of like calcification around it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some
Arthritis. Yep. We could probably inject those knees, huh? No matter what he does, that would help him. That doesn't look scary to me.
I mean, some mild flattening right there,
Mm-hmm.
but still plenty of joint space.
Yeah. That chip just didn't really in a place that I would remove it, would you? I mean, it's old and it's...
I mean, you could go in there and clean it up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can.
It's just, I mean, you're still going to have the arthritic changes there.
Yeah. I guess what's the probability of it moving now? It looked like it kind
It's
of had...
not. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
it's
didn't...
old and,
Yeah.
And where it is, it's not like it's floating around in there.
No, that's what it kind of looked like it had calcified in place. But of course, I'm wearing sunglasses and standing to the side. So that was my guess. My main concern is at this point, just go on with him. We could inject it just for... So, and that's another thing on injecting. I think some people think or have the misconception that when you inject a knee, you're putting a hole in the joint and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes you can do some rejuvenative therapy. How would you say that? Like you can inject sometimes and actually help something heal or to help something to have better viscosity, like the joint to have a little better viscosity. So
Basically, you're getting the inflammation inflammation out of the joint.
Correct.
The inflammation is what causes more. Is
There's
what
where it's
causes the deterioration to the joint. You know, arthritis is an inflammatory process, and by putting the cortisone in there, you're cutting down on the inflammation of the joint.
Yes. But that when you start to do things like Adequin, or they have other therapies also, that not only can you do things to remove the current inflammation, you can also do things to help the body to repair itself, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There are some therapies that can help rejuvenate a little bit of the damage that's already been done to help remove the inflammation. Obviously that little chip is there, but it's a really old one. It's not big or small. I mean, I've seen smaller, I've seen much bigger. You could remove it, but removing it's not going to add any life to him, because
I mean, it's...
If it was floating, I would say it needed to be removed for sure, but it's stable. So what do you think? Because we can put him on the truck with the red horse and have it knocked out of there. That's it right there. That thing that looks like a nipple off of a boob.
Yep.
It looks like a nipple.
The advantage of taking that out would be that they would put a scope in there and they would see the integrity of the rest of the cartilage and could give you a better idea of what the cartilage is.
Let's see if I can. It's hard because there's like a really funky glare. All I can see is Joey in the background. Okay, well now all I can see is my thighs. Never mind, this is just going bad. There we go. We need to get you one of those little, okay, right there. I got it. Perfect. Yep. Yep. And that little nipple-y looking spot right there is just a little piece of bone. Maybe this way. It's just a little piece of bone but it's old, and the spot above it is actually not also a chip. That's like old calcification. Right there.
That's proliferation of the bones.
Yeah, that's just where it's kind of, so it's stable. Like to just go be like a little hunter or something, though it's not really in a place. I mean, it's not floating. Just have to decide. For right now, probably inject it, huh? And just give it a little bit of relief. How'd the stifles look?
They look pretty clean.
The stifles look clean?
Yeah.
Now, this one carried some fluid on it when it got here. Brandon, will you step in back just a touch?
Was the one that...
It had, but it's better. Being turned out's helped him. When he came here, he had a little pocket. Like, he had a pretty big pocket, right? Right here, there was a really soft, like, squishy. It's still kind of there. Right here where my finger is. He had, like, a little... It could have even been a hematoma, though. You don't know if he got kicked at the cell. You know what I'm saying? But it was right here. And it was about a little bit bigger than a grape. Like, it was like half a golf ball, you know? And it was real smushy. But it's not there. So that's being turned out has helped that.
I mean, he carries some fluid on that. Like I said, there was a little bit of flattening.
Yeah. But the stifles look good. So all in all, the knee is actually pretty minor. I mean, that's far from a slab fracture or far from a career-ending injury and he's not lame on it. It's one of those, that's another thing when it comes to vet checking. This is really hard for a vet because the horse is pretty sound, but it's there. So some vets hate vet checks because of that. Right, Scott? It's hard because from a seller's standpoint, the horse is sound, but from a buyer's standpoint, there is a little chip in there, but it's far, far, far from a slab fracture or something new that's causing detriment, to his future. He could still very, very easily have a performance career. So we'll probably just have to ponder if we think that we want to go in and, a slab fracture is where, Scott, how would you explain a slab fracture? That's where the actual, like, large part of the knee
the carpal bone slabs off.
Yeah.
It fractures off the front part of the carpus.
Yes.
Or one of the middle carpal bones, basically.
And then, so you can actually screw that. Like, if a horse slab fractures, you can go in and screw it. There's a lot of different, I've had one that they went in and put screws and then laced the bone back together, like the front of his knee did this, and they put screws on both sides and laced and kind of tried to tighten that bone back in. I've seen some knees heel that were far worse than this, but yeah. I think that what Scott's saying, like if he was going to go back to racing, or if somebody wanted like a Grand Prix jumper, or you needed to have an eventer, you would definitely probably want to remove that and look at the integrity of the cartilage that's there. Now, for somebody that was going to do like low grade hunters or a lot of flat work or trail ride, you could leave the knee alone and do some regenerative therapy without removing that. So there are some therapies available now that can improve the integrity of the cartilage in the knee without doing surgery. But that would be something you would do, like, if you want to keep him trail sound, right? I mean, like, there's therapies you could do without removing it if you were just going to trail ride. You know, like flat work, dressage, things like that are not quite as in...
You're not wrong injecting it and going...
Yeah.
You know...
They've been racing him, so he ran 5 times this year. So that chip has probably been in this horse's knee years. That's the thing. He won 4 times in 2020 with that chip in there. So this is something that's not new. This horse has been competing at a very prominent level, winning with it in there. But the thing is we need to start thinking about his long-term quality of life. You know, like, so now what's he going to be like at 18 years old instead of 8 years old? If, you know, what can we do today to prolong this horse's soundness and his quality of life long term, I guess, is where we need to think. Like, okay, so they've been injecting it and running the piss out of him with a giant chip in his knee. And it's giant because some chips are as small as the end of a sharpened pencil, but they can be in the wrong place and cause catastrophic problems. So the size of the chip is not the problem, it's the location. Was that a fair statement, Scott? It's not necessarily the size, it's the location. And would you consider his in a...
I mean, it's not... The thing with his is it's healed back on it, even though it looks like it's not attached.
It's
probably attached with joint capsule and cartilage.
Yeah.
And it's not free floating.
It's not free floating, yeah.
You know, the edges are smooth on it. It's been there a while.
The edges are probably smooth because they probably had injected him a lot with a lot of acid and ate the edges off. And that's a racehorse thing. And that's something that, you know, people want to talk about integrity of racing and they talk about medication, but nobody talks about that part of it. This horse has had a chip in his knee for years that people have been injecting and running with it in there. That's part of racing that I don't understand. Horse makes $100,000 and you can't afford $1,000 to remove it. That pisses me off. But that's a whole other topic, right, Scott? And he's like, it's one I don't want to be in. I'm a vet. I don't want to. But from my standpoint, I get to have that opinion because of what I do. Scott wants to be neutral because he has racehorse clients. My dad trains racehorses. But I've seen horses like this. You know, like I said, he ran 5 times this year. They ran him like 9 or 10 times last year. He won, I think, 4 or 5 times in 2020. He ran second his last out this year. The last time they ran him was in June, and he ran second by like 3/4 of a length in starter allowance company. So tough horses.
You would think you'd go in and take that out.
Yeah, you think you would just take care of him. I mean, this kind of stuff bothers me. And the thing is if they would have taken it out when it happened, his retirement career would have been better. There's a lot of people that don't want a horse with a chip, no matter what the vet tells them. And so it affects his long-term quality of life and ended up in a kill pen because people raced him, injected it, and didn't take it out when it happened. So now what we can do is decide we can inject it for now to give him some comfort, stall him for a couple of days, and then we can just decide if we want to send him with the red horse or not. If you don't mind, I called a couple of places on surgery. I know sometimes there are vets, like maybe you have some friends you might call. I know ESMS, Honus, there's a couple, but the one over by Salisaw said for cash, if we paid in cash, they would make me a better deal on the red horse, and they would make a better deal on the second horse if we brought both of them and paid cash. So if you don't mind, if you have a friend that you would rather refer this to, let me know. You know, if it helps, like, you know, you have a friend that you want to give the business to.
When are we talking about possibly taking them?
I don't know. You know, that's the thing, is it's like this.
If it's within a month or 6 weeks, we don't want to put cortisone in there.
Yeah.
For them to do the surgery if we inject it.
Yeah.
If he possibly is going for surgery.
Right.
we would, within the next couple of months, we probably wouldn't want to put cortisone in it right now.
Yeah, what would you want to do? Just
leave it be.
Just leave it be. Because he's sound. I mean, yeah.
Actually, I could give him some polyglycan.
Yeah, that would be fine. And he runs and bucks and plays. Like that's the thing. Yeah,
He's got a lot of range of motion still in that knee. I mean,
he does have full range of motion. He does think he's a jumper. He really gets after it. Jess is like, you just be about 45 minutes late to grain this thing. And
we're sitting in my truck talking before we get out. He's like sizing up the gate and he'll start like rearing and like getting closer. Like, I can do it. And we're like, okay guys, we gotta get in.
We gotta feed Ryker before he jumps over the 6-foot fence to get to the grain. God, he's just the best horse, you guys. You're a good boy. So we're just going to give him some polyglycan, and we're going to ponder what we think is best for Ryker. Try to decide. Regardless, we are going to get Dylan to start working with him. So I have a chip my knee at 13 years old, and surgeons said to leave it unless it gave me problems now at 46. So that's exactly what we're talking about, Dawn, is we need to think about his long-term quality of life. Like, yes, we could inject the knee and probably even jump him right now with no issues. He could even go into a jumping home. But what we need to do is think about his long-term quality of life. So if we remove the chip now, set back training just a couple of months to let that heal, and then train him, will he still be viable for a lesson program and for light jumping even into his teens and early 20s? And if we remove the chip, yes. If we don't, it's questionable. So it's this right now is collectively just trying to make the decision on what to do for him long term. What's the best thing we can do for him long term? Yeah, polyglycan's great. I mean, and you guys, just so you know, there's a lot of different joint supplements out there. There's Adequin, Legend, polyglycan. They do similar things, but their molecular structure is different. That's what makes them different. Adequin claims that they're the only one on the market of their kind. You know, their molecular structure is like patented, scientific, different. But Legend is a great product. Polyglycan is a great more All right, sir. But I will tell you that being turned out has helped this horse. His stifles feel better. And he was he was more muscular, but he didn't have a belly and he was not eating good when he came. He had a lot of ulcers, so we treated him for ulcers, and now he's able to kind of put on some weight. And yep. All right, you guys. On to the next one.